But there will be no gloom for her who was in anguish. In the former time he brought into contempt the land of Zebulun, and the land of Naphtali. But in the latter time he has made glorious the way of the sea, the land beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, on them has light shone. Now the importance of the geography of this area goes all the way back to the story of Abraham, really. You know, when you think about it, God found Abraham and his tribe living in southern Mesopotamia, in the city of Ur. And he calls him to come and move to this land of Canaan. So, for some reason, God wanted his people to live in that land. And I think its location is what made it important to God's plan, as we see a glimpse of here in this prophecy of Isaiah and in how it ends up being fulfilled. So this land of Canaan, which became the land of Israel, with its location there between Asia and Africa, right on the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, it's very strategically located for a lot of movement of people coming in from other areas and people from that area going out to other regions. So this land of Galilee, this Galilee of the nations, Galilee of the Gentiles, it saw a lot of change, a lot of upheaval over the centuries that followed. This was, of course, the location of the northern kingdom of Israel, and the people in that area went through a very dark time. There was, of course, the tremendous persecutions of God's people, the eradication or attempted eradication of the prophets. There was, thankfully, a revival in that area under Elisha and his founding of the school of prophets, and there were quite a few notable prophets of the Old Testament that did come from that northern region of Israel. But overall, that area went into decline and eventually fell to the Assyrians, and the people from that area were deported across the Assyrian Empire. As we read about in the book of Tobit, we get an account of a family from Naphtali that has been deported and lives in Nineveh. So in spite of what the people had suffered, God is able to use those who are faithful to him to bring his message, bring his goodness to other parts of the world. Again, like we see in Tobit, and like we see in the book of Esther and in the book of Daniel, how people from that land of Israel are able to have a positive influence in neighboring countries. Now this started really kind of in the time of Solomon, even when the Israelites start going out with the Phoenicians, start going on seafaring voyages. So the way God called Abraham to that land of Israel, and from there God's people were able to go out bringing faith in God, bring that message of faith in God to the surrounding nations. It was an important part of God's plan to bring knowledge of him and redemption and salvation into the world. Now specifically about that land of Galilee and what it went through, what the changes that it saw that lead up to this prophecy and its fulfillment. Of course, when the Assyrian Empire deported people from the northern kingdom of Israel, they brought in people from other areas to live there, and the religion of Israel was pretty dark, even before the Assyrian conquest. Though there were prophets and there was great knowledge of faith in God in that area, there was also a lot of very dark and evil religious practices, and we can read about a lot of the depravity and the suffering caused by that in that area. So you have a remnant of the population living there in northern Israel, and then peoples brought in from other areas, and they end up with this kind of mixed religion, Yahweh worship, along with these other cults that these different peoples practice. Now interestingly, there were at least two actual reconquests of that area from the southern region of Israel, from the land of Judah. Under King Josiah, there was a expedition into that whole northern region, but that era was short-lived. Josiah was killed in battle, and that whole area came under the control of Egyptians, and then finally the Babylonians, who conquered and deported the people of Judah also. The second sort of reconquest of the northern part of Israel happened during the Hasmonean dynasty, when Jewish settlers went out and settled in the region of Galilee. So that's how in the time of Jesus you have Jews living in Judea and living in Galilee, and then with this land of Samaria in between. Now, during that time of the Macedonian Empire, a lot of Greek peoples also moved into that area. And later on, Greek-speaking peoples would have very early encounters with the gospel. Even while Jesus was walking the earth, Greek peoples were hearing the gospel and starting to learn about Jesus. So this Galilee of the Gentiles, by the time Jesus comes into it, this prophecy being cited by Matthew as he describes the beginning of Jesus' ministry in Galilee. This region of Galilee, it has the Samaritan peoples, there are Jewish peoples, there are Phoenician people, and there are also a lot of Greek peoples living in these cities around Galilee in the Decapolis region. So it's this center of many different ethnicities living in proximity to each other, with the Jewish faith having a great influence on the people around them, and Jesus coming to minister to the Jews. But also, as he's ministering to the Jews, a lot of other kinds of people are also hearing the message of Jesus, hearing about this new covenant, this gospel, this salvation that God is bringing into the world through Jesus. I'm going to read here from the Gospel of Matthew in chapter 4, where Matthew is citing that prophecy in Isaiah. Land of Zebulun and land of Naphtali, the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people living in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. From that time on, Jesus began to preach, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near." So just like there was a reason that God called Abraham to that geographical location, Canaan, which became Israel, there was a significance to that land of Galilee and the way that Jesus came from a family from Galilee, and that is where he began his ministry, reaching both Jews and other peoples too, Samaritans, Greeks, Phoenicians. So that by the time of Jesus' ascension to heaven and the beginning of the Acts of the Apostles, there is already a knowledge of Jesus that has begun to spread around. Well, thanks for listening. Please leave your comments below. Tell me what you think about all this, and I look forward to talking to you again later. Bye for now.